All right, guys, today's project is so simple. It's a 5-minute wizard. This is a runoff of the Tom Hines carving project that you see Doug Linker, Gene Messer doing. Look at that, very simple. In fact, this is the version that we do here, a lot simpler even. So if this sort of carving deal intimidates you, this is an awesome place to start. There's just one tool used here, a 1.5-inch knife, and we'll get into the other auxiliary little trinkets, but really not much else, a ruler and a pencil. This is in a 1.5-inch piece of basswood. Again, get all into that in a moment, but absolutely, you can do this, all right? Trust me, you can do this. That being said, this video is sponsored by Woodcarving Illustrated. Woodcarving Illustrated is a magazine providing incredible content from great instructional step-by-step articles to how-tos on sharpening and dust collection and shop setup, so much more. I love getting a magazine. It's a fantastic experience. Getting that thing, opening it up, seeing all the interesting stuff, there's just nothing like that. So use the code CARVER, C-A-R-V-A-R, V-E-R rather, C-A-R-V-E-R, I can spell. And that code will get you a whole bunch of free goodies from myself, as well as Catherine Overcash and others as well. Really great, helpful tips and instructional articles there you can get. So check that out in the link below and use the code CARVER. That said, let's get into this project. Sunny, oh, cloudy, but it was sunny. It's raining out there, we're on and off sputtering, but it's just beautiful. I've got the doors open. And today I figured I would come at you with a really simple carving. This is a 5-minute wizard. This is based off of a Tom Hines carving. This is a very straightforward beginner project, a starting point if you're totally new to carving. And we're gonna walk through this slowly together. It might take us a little longer than 5 minutes, but the idea is once you get skilled at this, you can do it very quickly and easily. So I've got a piece of basswood. This is 1.5 by 1.5 square cut diagonally. And it's about 3.5 inches long. And so you can do this in a longer or shorter piece. You can do it in a 1x1 or a 2x2 and scale it up or scale it down accordingly. So without further ado, I've got a handful of tools here, not very many. I've got a bench knife. This is an 1.5 inch or so bench knife. This is made by Badger State Blades. I've got myself a ruler, a pencil, and a strop. I always have a strop handy because you never know when you're needing a little bit of tuning up on the old tool. Strop is for sharpening if you're not familiar, and it's a piece of leather on a piece of wood that I've got honing compound rubbed onto the leather with a product called Zam. And Zam is a nice one that I recommend. And I have that in the description linked below. Okay, so to start this, I want to really quickly get a general idea of the overall outline. So 2 inches from the top here, I'm gonna make a marking. Now I can use a pencil. I've already got the knife in my hand, so I'm just going to make a marking with that. But so that you can see it, I guess I might as well just kind of mark that out a little bit better for you to see. Okay, so we've got that indication there. That's the 2-inch mark. At that 2-inch point, I'm going to take my knife, and please do wear a glove when you're doing this, because a glove can protect you from a whole host of problems. But I'm going to come in, and my knife nice and sharp, I'm going to push straight into the wood like that. And then I'm going to cut up to that point. And once again, back and forth. And you'll hear something. That chip has fallen. And that's how you know you're at a spot where you can proceed to make that cut over again. If you need more depth, then I'm going to come in with about a 1/4 inch worth of depth here on that cut. So you can see there, this is going to be where the hat is. Now this hat's going to be nice and long. He's going to be sort of a gnome wizard type character. And so to take this side area down, I'm going to use my knife with a paring motion. So what's important to note when you're carving, it's an important safety thing here, is that you want to always try and carve in such a way to where the destination of the blade is never your hand. Don't destine the tool for your hand, right? So always try to keep that thumb out of the way. So it might look dangerous from certain angles, but what I'm doing here is I'm actually pulling the wood through and missing my thumb. I've always got my intention set on where the tool is going to be. Another trick here, you can use the natural serration of the tool. If you've got a duller tool, you should definitely go ahead and sharpen it. This does not make up for a dull tool, but you can kind of slide the wood through the material like so. Using a sliding motion can sometimes help you to move through the material. Another tip, when you're doing a stop cut, If the relief cut, which is the cut that comes up against that stopping cut, does not come loose, it means you probably need to go back over your stop cut and then over your relief cut. And if, yep, there it is. See, now it's falling out. So make sure and go back and forth consistently between those two cuts. Don't just keep pushing, expecting it to free the chip. You probably will end up with a cracked piece. Now, as far as grain structure goes, this is more intuitive than anything else. There are rules, and I could explain those to you, but at risk of boring you to death. If the tool is cutting and it seems to start to be biting into the wood like so, you don't necessarily want that. And see how I lost the control of the wood? We're fine in this case, but otherwise that could be a bad thing. So keep in mind that if you start to lose control of your blade, you need to turn the direction of the knife around and go the opposite way. Okay, now to match this side up, just to show you that it's not the end of the world if something like that does happen, I'm going to take this other side down. All right? Very cool. So I'm going to take this cut, I'm going to continue this line. I could actually draw it out with a pencil really quickly so you can see. Turning downward, this hat's going to have a downward tilt to it, just like so. And I'll come back in with a stop cut along that line, rocking that blade over that line. Again, wear a carving glove, way safer that way. All the way around, just like so. Okay, believe it or not, we're fairly far along in the setup for this project. It's very simple, so stay encouraged if you're kind of feeling like, what the heck is he doing right now? Just follow along and we're going to get to something very neat in very little time. So we've made that curve. Now, as simple as sharpening a pencil, we're going to taper this hat, right? So in the same way we move our way around the pencil, turning it as we go to get that thing nice and sharp, right? Because who needs pencil sharpeners in a woodcarver's workshop? I'm going to do the same thing here, taking a little bit at a time, carving away from my body, away from my hands. Just like so, carving away from myself, tapering that hat. Now I'm kind of speeding this up. I don't want you guys to get any more rush than you ought to be here. So just keep in mind, I'm rushing this for this video. I'm going to take more material out per cut than you probably are with your own project. So slow yourself down, enjoy the process, and don't be like me rushing through this sort of thing. Okay, one fun thing that we can do at this stage, imagine that your pencil lead is kind of wonky, and you actually want to take that lead and turn it over. So we can lose the pencil analogy, you get what I'm saying. I'm going to take a little bit more out of one side, and that's going to give the hat a nice little turn. Okay. Just like that. Beautiful. Now that we've got that turn in, I'm going to take a measurement with my pencil once again, and we're going to come down about a half an inch from the brim of that hat. Ah! Oh, don't worry about that. Half an inch from the bottom of that hat. Pick up the tool on the ground, and I'm going to come in with another one of these stop cuts, the same cut that we made up here at the hat initially, where we're going in with the tool, stopping the grain from moving any further, and then cutting to that cut, and repeating that process until that piece comes free, just like that, okay? And I'm going to go slightly less deep than I did initially with that hat, maybe less than 1/4 of an inch at this stage, just under, okay? And now I'm going to take my knife, and I'm going to go on either side of that line. If we want to actually establish a center line, that's a great idea. So let's do that. Let's just draw a center line here. Right along the corner. That corner left behind is going to tell you where that center line should be, which is a nice cheat code. And I'm going to make a stop cut along the brim of that hat. Going along the brim of that hat with a stop cut. And either side of that line, I'm going to make cuts. And we're actually kind of getting back that pointed shape that we had initially that we lost when we started to round that hat brim. All right, so coming back in, getting that V shape, just like that, setting that V shape into the piece of wood. Okay. All right, now if you have a V-tool, this is a great time to use it. If you don't, well, join me. I'm not going to be using one, so we're keeping this ultra simple. We're going to do a stop cut here along the hairline of the beard and the mustache. Okay, now to do that, I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to carve a line just like so, coming off of the corner of what will soon be the nose. Let's draw it. I keep getting ahead of myself. I'm excited. Let's just draw that V in so you can see what I'm after here. And we'll draw that on the other side as well. Okay, just like that. Almost like a check mark with a longer side on the outside and a shorter side on the inside. Okay, now we're going to make the incising cut along those V lines, being very careful here not to puncture your own hand. Just take your time. Enjoy the process, okay? Just like that. Okay, and then a relief cut. Now I'm coming down here with just a little bit of an angle towards that line and not removing a lot of material, just a little bit at a time. See, just sneaking my way. Carving towards that line so you get the little ledge there. And now we'll carve towards this short end of the check mark, just like so. And if we have to, which we'll have to, go back over that stop cut, back over that other stop cut, and repeat that process. Remove a little bit, angling slightly downward here, slightly turning that blade. There, you can see the angle. There it is. That's what we're after. So we'll do it on the other side. Turn the tool to carving upside down. Just like that. One cut, and come back over to the other side, and then make the other cut to the beard. Now the reason we're cutting away atop the beard is because we want the beard to appear as though it's growing out of the face, and so it has to stick out above the face. So we're removing the face material, the cheek material, just like that, okay? Now it kind of looks awkward because we haven't defined the sides of the nose, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and define the sides of the nose. You can see I'm going back over this one more time, and that's okay. Okay. Defining the sides of the nose, we're going to come in with a measurement, and we're just going to guesstimate here. We're going to say about 3/8 of an inch. Let's make this about 3/8 of an inch wide. So we're going to center that marking from here to here with about a 3/8 inch distance. I'm going to come in with my knife along that line once again, straight in this time, using the tip of the tool to go into the wood. I'll show you again in slow motion. Ready? Okay. All right. And then I'll come in. Notice the angle. I'm slightly turned inward, so I'm going into the wood like so with a slight inward turn. And then finally, a cut angling upwards, slightly downward turned angle there to remove, and that's going to create what's called a triangle cut. I can go make all those cuts over again. Straight in, slightly angled inward, and then removing. See that little triangle being removed there? That's what we're after. Okay, the same thing here. Material there, and then stop cut here. Guys, this is such a simple and fun carving. I cannot tell you. I mean, you can already start to see what's happening here, right? It just cleans up some of these hairs that we see with some stop and relief cuts. And you know, this is the type of carving you can absolutely leave the flat planes that your knife has made in and let that be the juicy detail that makes this thing wonderful to look at. And people for years to come will see it and say, oh, you know what? That was hand carved. Look at those lines. You see the grooves on that? That's very cool. People will appreciate the hand carved quality of the piece. And so many times we're trying to get rid of all the lines. I spent my whole life making carvings with very tiny little cuts that I've sanded away with sandpaper. It's kind of a shame, really. So I've learned from experience to not carve away all the little signifiers of the fact that this was made by hand with love. Okay, so I'm just kind of leaving those marks in, not worried about them going away. You can shrink them up if you want to split them in half. In other words, you can go right in between two cuts, two planes, like so, and take the corner off of it if you really want to get fancy with it, but even that's not necessary. Okay, now we're going to take the corners off of the bottom of this beard. Now I'm going to use the knife to literally just pare down the corner edges of the beard all the way around, taking the corner down off the top, just like that. Now, I want you to understand that if this is your first ever carving, you're going to need to be stopping and starting this video, and you're probably already doing that if you're new to carving, all through this project, because, you know, it's very difficult to get a feel for the tool in your hand if you're new to it. So let yourself get familiar with the hand to tool relationship and just enjoy the process, and don't worry too much about the outcome just yet. You can always start from scratch again. And you know, it doesn't cost very much. This is such a small piece of wood. It's not really a big deal, so keep that in mind. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is create the mustache, and that's very, very simple, so don't get nervous about that. All we have to do is come down, say about 1/4 inch from the nose, or probably even less, honestly. Let's see, let's give ourselves a measurement. Yeah, let's say 3/16. 3/16 of an inch from the bottom of that nose down. We're going to make a V shape, just like so. So watch as I'm coming in. Boom, and boom. So really what we're looking at, just to make things a little bit clearer with a pencil, I'm making a line on this side and on this side. Kind of following, actually I'm following the line of the top of the mustache here where we were before. Just like that, okay? Boom, boom. Going in along those lines. The tip of that knife should be meeting at the center of that V, and then coming back in, cutting towards it, being very careful not to cut your fingers. Again, if you're not wearing a glove and you're new to this, then you're doing it wrong. Put on the glove, keep yourself safe. Okay, and just coming underneath that point. How about that? I'm sorry guys, this is way too much fun. Look at that. And we'll just come in, take off any of the leftover saw marks from the saw blade, just like so. I'm going to take the corners out of the bottom of the nose there, just like so. Beautiful. Okay, now we could continue to round the mustache and beard area by using that knife to kind of take out some of the big flat areas. Notice all these little facets I'm trying to create. So I'm just taking down some of these big corners and rounding them out a little bit. tucking that lower area, the beard underneath that mustache is also important here. There you go. Okay, now if you really want to get complicated here, get fancy, you can actually take your blade and do what's called a scoop cut. This is kind of an advanced cut. Let's redefine our center line here so we don't lose it. It's kind of easy to see though because we've got that nose line. I'm going to come on either side of that nose line and take a little scoop. Now notice as I'm bringing the tool through, I'm turning the blade up like so. Okay, just like that. Same thing here. See that? Little scoops on either side. Now you can use a gouge for this if you're a more advanced carver, but you don't need to have one. You can just use your knife, scoop through, and you can practice this scoop cut on scraps of wood. You know, for instance, I've got one here. I can just practice on it. Notice that I'm turning the blade. As I'm moving it through, I'm rolling the blade with my hand. Sometimes you have to use your hand to do that, your wrist to do that rather, when you're not used to that, but that's the idea. Okay guys, now I could just go ham with this and make it all sorts of complicated, but I don't know that it really needs it. I think this is a really great starting point if you're trying to learn to carve a beard, a man rather with a beard, a little character, and I mean, come on, how much fun is that, right? So this is, took us a little longer than 5 minutes, but once you've kind of mastered this, you can really knock these out quickly and paint them and get all kinds of great designs going with an acrylic if you wanted to, paint the hat a different color. Give the beard a nice light wash. We've done that in other projects, and you can see that on many other carvers projects on YouTube. There's fantastic stuff out there. Linker has some amazing tutorials on carving or painting these types of characters as well, so check those out. Check out Gene Messer. He's an incredible guy as well, doing very great versions of these carvings and painting them in some cases as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and had as much fun carving it. I swear these guys give me as much joy as these carvings I work on for hours do. So it's a ton of fun. Enjoy this, guys. Have fun with it, and we'll see you in the next one.